Have you ever felt stuck? Like the days just blend together. You're not really living, you're just waiting. Waiting for something or someone to come along and instill purpose in your life. Perhaps you find yourself drifting further and further into dreams, fantasies that have settled deep within your mind. And as you've gotten older, you've secretly wished that you wouldn't wake up. What if you didn't? Imagine you don't wake up to your room, but to a new place that is just ideal enough to satisfy you, the place of your dreams. What would it look like? Perhaps you would prefer to spend your days with a soft breeze underneath the warm summer sun, or maybe you wouldn't care about the surroundings at all, not as much as the newfound freedom that comes with being in this situation. No obligations, no expectations, and no danger that could ever pose a conceivable threat to your well-being. Well, for the most part anyway. You're safe, you're young, and you're surrounded by all kinds of new people that wish for nothing more than to become acquainted with you. It's a jarring change. It could easily unnerve anyone if it were to happen overnight. But if you were to find yourself in these circumstances, would you want to wake up? That's the question haunting Simeon, a 25-year-old unemployed recluse, one that he often finds himself asking and avoiding in equal measure. After boarding a bus in the dead of winter, he falls asleep and wakes up in a place that shouldn't exist. A Russian pioneer camp in the middle of summer. The strange part? It feels eerily familiar, like something pulled straight out of the dreams he's been having for as long as he can remember. Wait, why is my name in this box? Oh, right. I should probably explain just who I am. Hello, my name is Jouska, the voice inside your head, and this is my experience with Everlasting Summer, a free-to-play visual novel game I first picked up 2 years ago and never finished. This is the story of how it left me drawing parallels in places I never would have expected once the credits began to roll. For full disclaimer, this isn't a walkthrough or a full-blown analysis of the entire game. This is only my blind story within the walls it provided. I'll cover the narrative, the choices I made, the ending I reached, and some observations that I made along the way. I'm simply one man. Don't treat me like I'm so divine. With that out of the way, let's begin. Before Simeon ever sets foot inside the gates of the pioneer camp, we, the player, get to take a step inside his sleeping mind. It's clear that he's been here before, as he stands in front of these massive, half-open gates, as if they were waiting for him to accept their silent invitation. The silence is broken by the disembodied voice of a young girl, asking him a simple question. Will you come with me? This scene alone is terrifying, but for him, it's just routine. He's had this dream countless times before, so much so that this environment feels as real as anything in his flat. If he wanted to, he could open the gates and breathe the cool, crisp air on the other side. But to do this, he'd have to move, take action, and that's something Simeon has no urgency to do. If you know you're in a dream, and nothing can hurt you here, where you stand, then why bother stepping towards something that might? It's comfortable here. When you can spot the unnatural green of the grass or catch your own twisted reflection in the mirror and still have the sense of self-preservation, it's revealing. Even here, in a world without repercussions, he hesitates to act. Simeon is hyper-observant of this dream world he's grown accustomed to, yet his thinking remains rooted in logic. It keeps him grounded and stuck. He only decides to take action when he's forced to. And right now, that means answering her. As if it was her cue, The voice returns. She repeats herself. Same words. Same question. This is where he gets to make his first choice. To come with her, or to stay here. After thinking it through, he chooses to go with her. Whoever this is seemed trustworthy enough. I'd say he has little to lose. Jolting awake, Simeon finds himself in a familiar position, hunched over in front of his computer screen, bathing in its cold blue glow like it's the moonlight outside. Quickly, we figure out just who we're dealing with here. He has little social contact outside of chatting online. He's unemployed, floating from one half-learned skill to the next, never committing because it takes too much effort, and if he leaves the house at all, it's usually because someone's expecting him to, not because he wants to. That turns the smallest outing into an obligation, a responsibility owed to another person, not a choice you've actively made yourself. Just one more action you took not to disappoint anyone. At the persuasion of a distant friend, Simeon decides to attend his university reunion. As he walks to the bus stop, he reflects on his teenage years. It's a time when many feel free, not yet burdened by the responsibilities that come with being an adult. Simeon idolizes those years, a time he nostalgically refers to as the careless childhood age, when he could spend his days doing what he wanted without consequences. Eventually, Route 410 arrives. Our main character boards the bus and watches the world rush past his window. As he does, he experiences a state of sonder, realizing that the people rushing past outside have full lives of their own. They are blissfully unaware of his existence and have no reason to care about what he's going through. Before long, the blur of passerby and blinding streetlights lulls him to sleep. He closes his eyes, only for a moment. Then, without warning, he is transported to a new world, and our time as a Soviet pioneer begins. Simeon awakes and immediately senses that something is off. Gone is the worn-out Liaz that he recalls boarding, and in its place, a pristine Icarus model. A model discontinued in 1989. That can't be good. He racks his brain for something, anything, that explains how he's ended up here, surrounded by abandoned roads and the suffocating heat of summer. His last memory? A girl whispering something soft and distant, then nothing. Convinced the girl has something to do with his predicament, and just as certain that she won't be found anywhere nearby, Simeon runs in the direction the bus must have come from. It's the only lead he has, and after running himself to exhaustion, he realizes it was a fruitless endeavor. Concluding that there aren't any answers to find out here, amongst the endless fields and trees, he returns to where he started, the gates. After a bout of panic-induced laughter, he cracks. Regret, fear, and guilt begin to seep into his mind. Is this the place where his life will end? Here, in an unknown place, lost to an unknown time? What about all the things he planned on accomplishing? Eventually. He throws his head back, wailing to the heavens. His only reply? That of a nearby bird, incensed that its evening nap was interrupted. After a pause, Simeon stands. The only thing left for him to do is move forward. His search begins on a hopeful note. As he reaches for the gates, a girl dressed in a pioneer outfit suddenly steps out from behind them. There's little time to process beyond first impressions, as her voice breaks the silence. "Hi, you must have just arrived?" Naturally, he responds to her question out of common courtesy. This mysterious pioneer girl gives him the directions to the residence of one Olga Dmitrievna before waving him on his way. He wanders past the clubhouse, where two more pioneer girls catch his eye, one with purple hair. You know what that means. She's crazy. Then we witness the best interaction so far, before ending up in the camp square where the statue of Ginda stands guard. Suddenly remembering the task at hand, Simeon walks through a forest trail and ends up on a pier, where he runs into the first girl once again. It goes without saying that no good play can stand on the legs of one actor, and as such, these 4 girls will serve as our supporting cast. You've got Slavia, the girl next door, helpful and friendly. Lena, the wallflower, shy, soft-spoken, and surprisingly, not crazy. Elisa, the rebel, brash and confrontational, and Oljana, the prankster, energetic and childish. The middle 2, as you will soon see, become quite familiar with Simeon. But they're not the only ones he meets. There's Electronic Cheesekov, who aside from holding the honor of the most unfortunate name I've seen to date, serves as our guide for day 1. And of course, we cannot forget the Graham leader herself, Olga Dmitrievna, a leader of pioneers, and avoider of all questions. Electronic guides him to the canteen after he officially meets Lena, but doesn't stick around after referring to Elisa as 2chan. When she overhears him, he bolts, yelling that we're on our own now. Before she pursues, Elisa turns her attention to Simeon. He stays put. Elisa threatens him anyway, then storms off after Electronic. After a moment of deep introspection in the square, he heads to the canteen, where Olga Dmitrievna stands at the door, waiting. He studies her, as if she alone may be what's holding this world together, until she addresses him to go inside and take a seat. She seats him next to Oljana. Dinner tonight consists of kotleta, a minced meat cutlet, mashed potatoes, and kompot, fruit juice. Would be a nice meal if Oljana didn't swipe his cutlet. He graciously ignores this, but Oljana insists on retrieving Simeon a new one, and when she does, he lifts his replacement, only to find an insect crawling underneath it. Simeon falls out of his chair. Oljana runs out the door, and he gives chase. He chases her through the camp before eventually losing her on a footpath entering the forest. Now lost, Simeon takes a moment to collect his bearings and figure out how to return before dark. With time, he finds the camp entrance and settles there, only to be found by Slavia. She remarks that he must be hungry after not getting a proper chance to finish dinner, and suggests they meet at the canteen. As the leader's aide, she casually mentions that she has the keys to everything the camp has to offer. She'll meet him there after letting her roommate know where she'll be. They part ways, and Simeon goes to the canteen, only to discover someone trying to break in through the front door. It's Elisa. Without a second thought, Simeon approaches her, and Elisa asks for help. Seems worried about his failed dinner, courtesy of Oljana, really did get around, but the mention of Slavia's impending arrival is all it takes for Elisa to snap, claiming Simeon now owes her 2 favors before stalking off into the night. What was the first one? Slavia returns shortly thereafter, and Simeon decides to not mention Elisa's attempted break-in. Our savior for the evening grabs him some leftovers. They share a brief but guarded conversation about Simeon's first day. He can't help but feel cautious around her and the others. They all seem normal, but not the same kind of normal you'd expect from someone in everyday life. He gathers the courage to sheepishly ask her if he can ask a frivolous question, but she disregards it in a manner that would make Olga Dmitrievna proud, stating that it's time to go. She leaves, but not before telling him to go and see the leader herself, as she will assign his quarters. She leaves her keys behind in the door. He takes them, trusting Simeon to hold on to these. Wandering again, he spots Lena on a nearby bench, reading. He sits beside her, and after an awkward back and forth, he notices the book she's reading, Gone with the Wind. He praises the book. Simeon may not know what he's talking about, but I do. The conversation is replaced with a comfortable silence until, without warning, Lena says she must go, and goodbyes are exchanged. Our last stop for the night is the leader's cabin, where Olga Dmitrievna informs him that he will be rooming with her. Semyon snarks, before being reprimanded in a way not unlike an adult scolding an unruly teenager. He makes a mental note of this, but decides to play along. Olga Dmitrievna praises him and says that behavior like this is the key to becoming a decent pioneer. And we do want to be a decent pioneer. Right? Right? More than anything, Olga Dmitrievna. He woke up fresh. It's almost noon, and while it may be too late for breakfast, it's never too late to put on your pioneer uniform. Semyon looks in the mirror, only to realize that he is impossibly younger. Suddenly, Olga Dmitrievna treating him like a teenager makes more sense in hindsight. Speaking of which, Olga Dmitrievna, yes, you have to say the full name every time, gives him lunch and a small bag of toiletries, including tooth powder of all things. Another point for the We're in the Past crowd. She frets over Semyon as if she were his mother, offering to tie his neckerchief for him and reminding him to not be late for today's lineup. What time? Noon. Where at? The square. Semyon has no clue what she's referring to. She then hands him a house key and tells him that now it's his home too. That strikes a chord with Semyon. Home refers to a place that is familiar, and this place is anything but. Arriving at the square, he takes his place amongst the other pioneers and notices a few new faces. His next task introduces us to them. The introductory checklist. He's instructed to go to the main clubhouse, the music club, the infirmary, and the library. He can also skip all of this and go straight to the canteen if he so chooses. With my goal of Semyon being a decent pioneer in mind, he goes to each place in the order they were listed to him. In the clubhouse, we're introduced to the future of the country's robotics field, Shurik and Electronic. We've met him already. Slavia, our savior, forces Shurik to sign the checklist so Semyon isn't roped into joining and can be sent on his way. Then there's Miku, leader and only member of the music club. She's friendly, fast-talking, and hard to dislike, even if Semyon himself despises her. She signs our checklist and Semyon leaves her goodbye hanging on the other side of the door. Off to the infirmary next, where the nurse intently stares him down, greeting him with an unnecessarily seductive, "Well, hello, pioneer." Her name is Viola, and she's here to make him feel better. Thankfully, someone knocks. It's Electronic. Him and his black eye save Semyon, for now. He heads to the final place on the checklist, the library. Inside he finds the librarian, a girl with black hair and glasses, asleep. Give her a minute. There. Meet Zahenya. She's stern and short-tempered. She signs our checklist without much hassle. With our task complete, we walk with our head held high to Olga Dmitrievna, who just pockets it without a single look. After quickly finishing a lackluster lunch, in Semyon's opinion anyway, he stands out on the canteen porch. With every pioneer inside the canteen, the camp is abandoned. Within a place that is always the same, down to the most minute detail, how is one supposed to feel when they catch a glimpse of something that opposes this notion? A seed of uneasiness spreads through Semyon. He feels a hand on his shoulder. Semyon looks back to see Electronic, who suggests that they play cards. He's invented a new game, and he's eager to give it a try. To retrieve the cards, Slavia comes along. This gives him the opportunity to ask questions, which goes nowhere. With the cards in his possession, he goes to walk into the canteen when someone grabs his arm. Turning around brings him face to face with the smug grin of Elisa. Semyon knows little about cards, so she proposes a bet. If we lose, she tells everyone Semyon tried to seduce her. If we win, she'll probably still do it, though she claims she won't. However, without warning, Lena appears from behind Simeon. How much had she heard? She takes one step forward, maybe to pull Simeon away from this ridiculous bet, but she flinches, eyes flickering with hesitation when Elisa turns to her. She hurries inside, but not before glancing back. There's something behind her eyes. Concern? Maybe. But she says nothing. With Simeon's reputation as a decent pioneer on the line, and no way to back out, the game is on. With everyone present, the card game begins. It's basically poker. I lost twice before beating Elisa in the finals. Simeon decides to celebrate by stripping down to his underwear and taking a swim. Why? And he pays for it when Elisa comes to steal his clothes from him. Tensions rise. Simeon storms into the square. And there, he finds her. Cheek stained with red, pioneer outfit in hand, waiting. Whatever this place is, it's not finished with him yet. The next day promises a memorable night. An evening ball awaits. Though he wakes up at 7, Simeon skips camp activities to search for answers, much to everyone's dismay. Can his fellow pioneers help, or must he search alone? He starts his day by heading to the canteen, arriving just as the crowd dissipates. Inside, Lena sits at a corner table, absent-mindedly poking at her food. Despite Zahinya's protest, Simeon claims he has a promise to keep. Lena, who had been stealing glances, looks pleased to see him. The topic of the ball comes up. His indecisiveness about whether he'll attend surprises her. To her, it isn't a question. Well, if you're inviting me. Lena's eyes dart as her face reddens. She goes silent. Just kidding, Simeon adds, like a kid taking back a compliment to his crush. The conversation ends, and Lena excuses herself, leaving Simeon to ponder. He lingers outside the infirmary, a moment longer than necessary, when a smoky voice calls out to him. Hey there, pioneer. The nurse approaches with an important task, organizing tonight's shipment of medical supplies. Hey again, Lena. The nurse volunteers him for the task, but Lena quietly suggests she could do it alone. Viola dismisses this. It's too much for one person, and besides, a pioneer should always be ready. Isn't that so, pioneer? He agrees, reluctantly. If it weren't for Lena, he would have avoided the commitment entirely. Lena goes quiet. She stares at the ground for so long that Simeon thinks she's memorizing every bug to ever crawl. As they walk to the square together, Lena breaks his thought with a simple question. Where will you head next? When he doesn't answer, she tries again. Just don't forget, alright? Don't forget what? Well, tonight, after dinner, at the infirmary? Her expression tightens into a small, almost grumpy look, the kind that shows she cares more than she admits. Alright. Right after dinner, I'm at your service. Color touches her cheeks. She says nothing. He changes the subject. They part ways not long after. But watching her walk away, I can't help but wonder. Maybe she wanted him to say yes, not to the chore, but to her. A guitar riff pierced the peace and quiet. Simeon stops mid-step. It doesn't belong, and that's what made it interesting. A day meant for answers slips away. He follows the noise. He follows the sound to a worn-out theater stage. There, he finds Elisa, electric guitar in hand, playing a gritty, familiar riff. He's rooted to the spot, watching, listening, and waiting. Once she finishes, she heads straight for him, like she's not done being heard. Did you like it? Yeah, it was cool. As if you could do any better. Her sly smile dares him to disagree. Problem is, he never claims to. He turns to walk away. Wait a minute. He turns around. Her tone softens. Heard about the evening dance party? I thought it was a ball. Ball, dance party, what's the difference? She bristles. She didn't like being corrected by him or anyone else. Yes, I did. And so what? Are you going to go? She turns away, maybe assuming it's easier than knowing. I'm not sure. And you? What am I going to do there? Watch a herd of morons? This catches him off guard. He expected sarcasm, not contempt. It's not the idea of the ball itself that she hates. It's being seen at it. Regardless of the consequences, she planned to keep practicing. Simeon makes the mistake of asking what she's practicing, something he knew, and more importantly, something she already told him. Simeon realizes he's one wrong question from wearing this guitar as an experimental fashion statement. Who wrote this song? I did. She probably didn't. So you wrote it by yourself? By myself. Okay, she definitely didn't. A heavy silence hangs over them. Simeon, unsure of what to say next, turns to leave. Don't you want to listen? Didn't I just hear it? That's not what I meant. She crosses her arm, but lifts her chin as he looks back. The whole song. It's just a jam for now. Ah, come on, do it then. Not right now. Well, don't do it then. You mean you don't want to hear me play? She spoke in circles. What exactly did she want? I want to. I told you. Come here tonight then. I'll play it for you. For him, how cute. It would be an offer worth considering if tonight didn't already belong to the dance. Tonight is the dance party. You said you wouldn't go. Elisa's eyes flicker with resentment. Skipping the dance to be with her felt brave, or just stupid. Olga Dmitrievna won't like it. He tosses the leader's name like a lifeline. Screw her. Before she could explode, Simeon gave her an answer. Another choice, another promise. And in doing so, I created a problem I wouldn't notice until later. I didn't realize it when Simeon left the stage, nor did it cross my mind when he went to the canteen for dinner. Not even when Slavia insisted he'd have to go to the dance, if Lena was going. Only when he offended Olyana and got pulled into her mess did I realize that time was running out. He agreed to help Lena. He also agreed to meet Elisa. Simeon couldn't be in two places at once. One promise kept means another broken. Someone would be disappointed, but who? Though neither of them had said it outright, I knew both were counting on him to show. He went to Elisa. It just felt right. He tells himself this is better. At least here he wouldn't stick out. As he approaches the stage, Elisa's face flickers with something close to joy. He actually came. As she plays, he can't help but see a new side of her. Is she comfortable? Hard to say. Her edge could return at any second. Then she hands him the guitar. It's been a while, and even with her help, he fails. The jabs make it worse, and finally, after 3 days, something makes him mad. Playing the guitar was another thing he quit when it got hard. Like everything else, he didn't need her to remind him. You should have heard yourself. Obviously, but if I had some practice. So you will practice. Her challenge feels like a spit in the face to his pride. I don't know. Maybe I will. But he knows he won't. His anger builds until it spills. As if it would change anything. She looks at him, startled. Me, learning to play the guitar. Her shock fades, replaced by a sly grin. You surely couldn't. You'd strum the guitar for a couple days, then give up. Why is this starting to feel personal? He came because she expected him to. Wasn't that enough? It didn't matter. Not in this place. Taking a look at Elisa shows that she's smiling, clearly enjoying this. Simeon stalks away. He's hurt, and she clearly isn't begging him to stay. He runs into Slavia, still cleaning after the dance. She asks where he's been. He says he took a walk. She says he should have come. It was fun. Maybe she's right. After bathing, he runs into the last person he wants to see, Elisa. If back there, on the stage, you thought that, well, I didn't want to offend you or anything, it's okay. I'm not offended. I just can't play guitar. Nothing special. A lot of people can't. Exactly. You can't. He continues walking. Wait, I really didn't want to offend. Some higher power made him turn around. Okay. Can I go now? Yeah, of course. She looks guilty, and somehow, strangely appealing. If only she knew when to stop. What are you smirking at? Clearly, his extended silence had gotten to her. Nothing. I just thought that if only you were a little more polite. Then what? He has to be careful. People might get the wrong idea. Then nothing. You should finish what you started. He didn't need to, nor did he wish to, but he couldn't avoid her. If only I would be more polite, then what? Try it, and you will see. Why should I do anything for a fool like you? Then don't try. What does it have to do with me? Well, if I would, then you... Why did she want to know that? He didn't even know what he would do if she did. Maybe he'd thank her for making his life easier. I don't know what you're talking about, but let's think that I would, if it's easier for you. Elisa's face turns crimson. She could say a million things, but she only manages a soft insult. She slams the bathroom door behind her. Finally, he allows his feet to carry him home. Sleep avoids him momentarily because Olga Dmitrievna is awake, ready to interrogate him on why he missed the ball. He told the truth. He was with Elisa. Now telling the leader that her star pioneer skipped the dance to be with his antithesis wasn't the smartest, but after a brief scolding, she softens and sends him to sleep. Darkness settles, but questions linger. Would he play guitar? For himself? For Elisa? For fun? For a career? Eventually, sleep finds him. This is the day where things take a turn, though not immediately. An incessant ringing wakes Simeon from his slumber. Just his alarm. He shuts it off. Noticing that the camp leader isn't here to stop him, he slips back under the covers, welcoming sleep. Sleep doesn't return the favor. As he brushes his teeth, a sound wafts past his ear. He turns his attention to the forest, but there's nothing there. Back at the washstands, he's met by his favorite person, Miku. She's gathering her spilled tooth powder from the wet grass. In a rare act of kindness, Simeon offers to give her the rest of his tooth powder, but it's gone, as if someone had taken it. But saying so to Miku would make little sense, and possibly blow her mind. Vanishing household goods? She'd never recover. Choosing to say nothing, Miku's voice fades into the summer breeze as he leaves her behind. Outside the canteen, a lively discussion is brewing. Olga Dmitrievna calls out to him, concern etched into the contours of her face. She asks a question that makes things go from mundane to eerily interesting with only a few words. Have you seen Shurik? He hadn't been seen since early this morning. But what was the problem? It's only 9 a.m., hardly enough time to be considered missing. He might have decided to go for a walk. The only reply comes from Slavia, interjecting herself into the conversation. You don't know Shurik. The conversation is dissolved by Olyana and Elisa. Breakfast won't wait on them forever. Speaking of those two, the only free seat happens to be at their table. Olyana asks him something he hadn't prepared for, if he wants to go to the beach with them. Simeon looks at Elisa as she finally speaks. Their quarrel, her strange behavior, it all comes rushing back. Audionautix soon dismisses herself and leaves the two of them at the table. Doubt starts to creep in. What good could come from these two? He tries to get out of it, but Elisa's stare pins him down. I don't even have a swimsuit. Try mine. You think it will fit me? Give it a try. The joke isn't worth the effort, but this doesn't stop Elisa from taking it upon herself to find him a pair of swim trunks. She tells him to wait here. Simeon is filled with dread by her words, but he stays put. With breakfast over, the other pioneers file out of the canteen without a single glance in his direction. No matter how out of place he actually is, it's of no concern to the inhabitants of this camp. To them, he's but another pioneer. Before long, Elisa returns, and with her comes a pair of swim trunks, though you could hardly call them that. She insists he wears them, but he has no intention of doing so. She doubles down, but even her threats don't faze him. He'll go, just not wearing those. The playfulness of the previous encounter is replaced with reality back in the leader's den. Schwartzy is still missing. It's admittedly unusual for a person that prides themselves on being timely and is dedicated to his passions above all else. Then again, we don't know Schwartzy. Olga Dmitrievna gives him a pair of black trunks, somehow the perfect size. The beach proves to be a place of reflection for Simeon. Once the girls go for a swim, leaving him alone. What is he doing here? Anytime he searches for answers, he ends up being pulled away by forces out of his control. The local residents let on nothing, and he's beginning to doubt if they know anything at all. Leaving is an altogether different issue. How far can one walk when they don't know where they're walking to? It seems that the best option is to wait. And they say the best things come to those that do. After some time, the girls return, with a +1, a small crayfish. Audionautix pokes at it gleefully. Elisa seems apathetic in stopping her, so it falls to Simeon to do something about it. He takes the crayfish from her. Its eyes reveal no expression, but if it could speak, it would probably file a human rights complaint. Not that it would help much. Soon after, Simeon falls asleep. He doesn't remember any dreams, but he does know that someone shaking his shoulder is what causes him to wake up. Don't open your eyes, Simeon. Oh no. Olga Dmitrievna looms above, her bathing suit wet from a mid-afternoon swim. It's almost lunchtime, and still no sign of Schwartzy. I have a question. If she's so worried about it, why isn't she... No, it's up to Simeon, the true pioneer, to rescue Schwartzy and save the day. If Olga Dmitrievna comes to you, then it's your help that she wants. With no choice, he goes to change. Where could Schwartzy possibly be? Could he be in the nearby forest? It's my first choice for where to look. It was glaringly obvious that Olga Dmitrievna and her crew of pioneers had searched every nook and cranny of the camp, so maybe checking the surrounding forest would yield results. Could Schwartzy have really disappeared? It's not impossible. This place is beyond his comprehension. Schwartzy could have disappeared off the face of this earth for all he knew. His thoughts are broken, not by a familiar face, but by an animal. A squirrel stands in front of Simeon, its eyes trained on his hands. The furry creature couldn't understand a word he said. It could only wait for treats. None comes. Ashamed to look it in the eyes, Simeon moves on. The forest reveals nothing, and going further seems too frightening to approach now. Simeon finds himself back at the washstands. Sweating under the sun, he tries to wash off, but it's not easy. He can't get into the wash bowl, and there's no ladle. Hearing footsteps behind him, Simeon turns to see Electronic walking towards him. He too has been looking for Schwartzy and has no clue where he might be. Simeon tries to insist that he hasn't been gone for too long. Maybe he wanted to be left alone. Electronic's reply, "You don't know Schwartzy." I guess we don't. Not everyone goes on walks like Simeon does. Electronic proceeds to rant about Shurik's brilliance, his 1 in a billion talent, a man of steel, simply triumphant. Eventually, he calms down. They're both here for the same reason, after all, attempting to cool down. Electronic wishes that there was a bucket or a ladle. That's funny. I was just saying that. Oh. Electronic gives him a look like he's about to go live with the nightly news. Simeon bolts. Must not care for the news. Between the remaining choices of the bus stop, home, and the boathouse was the most promising. He's crossing the square when Elisa's voice calls out to him. She asks about his search. He can't put his finger on why, but her behavior seems off. Elisa says what we've all been thinking and asks if she can help. She only needs to grab something first and insists he comes along. Simeon follows. The Jolly Roger on the door and the messiness of the cabin catch his eye immediately as he steps inside. But to his surprise, whatever she's looking for isn't here. She smiles and states that she'll look for it elsewhere. Right. He takes a look around. The posters on the wall catch his eye, but it's not long before panic hits. He's alone, in a girl's cabin, with no witnesses to defend him. He goes to open the door, but it's locked, naturally. An open window provides an escape route, but Simeon decides to stay, just to see what Elisa was up to. It doesn't take long to find out. Elisa and Olga Dmitrievna arrive, the former claiming that the latter will see everything for herself when she opens the door, only to find nothing and no one. Elisa stares in disbelief. Olga Dmitrievna doesn't hesitate. She lets her have it. I understand everything, Divinchevskaya. One story after another. Simeon's in my cabin. Simeon's harassing me. Why do you keep lying? That's horrible. Elisa stands unmoving, her face still. It's a sight to behold, both funny and kind of sad. Elisa lets her head hang, fist clenched. She doesn't even see Simeon now standing in front of her. He makes his presence known. Her eyes flash with disbelief as her face gives way to the scarlet mask of rage. I wanted to take revenge. For what? You beat me in cards. And there's the reason. Fantastical. Simeon offers a sarcastic apology. Offended, she shoots him a glare and slams the door. Honestly, this situation somehow made his day. Letting out a hearty laugh, he leaves the place that perhaps in another timeline would have been a death trap. Off to lunch next. Yes, this all happened before noon. Olga Dmitrievna corners him again with both Electronic and Slavia in tow, both exhausted from searching. Slavia looked all over camp. Electronic searched the surrounding forest, which is what Simeon actually did too, so now Simeon has to say he helped. Olga Dmitrievna declares they should call the police. Simeon tries to intervene. Is it too much to think that Shurik just went home? Even if his home is miles away, he could have gone to the nearest station and traveled by train. However, after some thought, the leader states that the nearest station is far off. No real answer, just too far. It feels like any time leaving the camp comes up, all the inhabitants scramble to change the topic. Simeon leaves the trio to their discussions. If anything is going to be done, it won't be done by sitting here. Simeon wanders, his feet aimless. He looks at the statue of Genda. It seemingly looks back at him, his stone hand covering a part of his glasses. Simeon is willing to wager that the statue knows just where Shurik is. If only he could talk. The more he ponders the leader of the Cybernetics Club's disappearance, Simeon can't help but draw comparisons to his own predicament of being trapped here. What if they have a correlation to each other? Suddenly, a chill breeze takes hold of Simeon. It's safe to say he hears her before he sees her. Oh, pioneer. The nurse hands him her keys and disappears, effectively putting him in charge of the infirmary. Once inside, he begins thumbing through a fashion magazine. He pictures the people he's come to know wearing these outfits. He imagines them in his world. They must be real. He saw them, heard them, yet they're still here, as is he, but he's the outlier. He simply doesn't belong to this world. He's waiting for his chance to leave, only waiting, because nothing is up to him anymore. Eventually, his eyes drift shut. He wakes up to find Lena in the infirmary. Soon he'll be visited by others, but it all starts with her. She comes complaining of a small headache. Nothing serious. Simeon gives her the appropriate medicine. He shows her the magazine. Does she like anything she sees on the page? Is this popular? Her answer of, I guess, could be viewed as cautious affirmation. Maybe she does like it, but doesn't want to be judged. It could also be completely hollow, devoid of anything. No different from Olga Dmitrievna's comment about the train station. Lena wonders aloud why he asked, and I'm given a choice. He doubles down. Can't imagine someone in an outfit and not say something encouraging. She thanks him for the compliment and the medicine, but I can't help but think that by looking at her as she goes, that she's wondering where she can find a cardigan and a skirt combo inside of a summer camp. Another knock brings another pioneer. This time it's Olyana. Apparently she'd rather die than be treated by him, but upon the mention of a heavy stomach, he has just a thing for her. He jokes about the stolen candy. This causes Olyana to give Simeon a baleful look, slamming the door as she stomps out. Maybe he shouldn't have said that one. Then comes Slavia, oddly hesitant. Simeon asks how he can help, but in her words, he can't. She asks him to wait outside. A minute later, she exits with a mystery bundle. In real life, I've learned the right answer to moments like this, and Simeon follows suit. No questions are asked, and he wishes her well on her way. Finally, Elisa shows up with a specific request: activated carbon for her stomach ache. He calls her out on having ill intentions. She simply asks, what if he's right? In an instant, he finds himself using his body as a human shield as she leaps for the drawer. She can't move him, but there's always another way. She uses an imaginary distraction, a kid with a broken leg, to snag the carbon and bolt. Hopefully, it won't end in flames. With dinner approaching and the nurse not yet back, Simeon wonders if he's going to be stuck here without a meal. Just then, a rustle is heard behind the door. Simeon checks. No one there. But back inside, he finds a spotless apple. No one is eating a randomly appearing apple, so this makes the decision easy. He doesn't eat it. He actually makes it to dinner, having it in the company of Lena, Miku, and later Zahenya. Simeon finds out that Lena and Miku are cabin mates. This is surprising, but not the most surprising thing he'll hear. Zahenya mentions a village nearby, theorizing that Shurik is there for... Any mention of the village in a locational sense is disregarded, however, much like the train station. Simeon finishes and heads outside. He breathes in the fresh air. Nothing seems unusual about the camp at this moment. That is, until a loud bang goes off. It sounds as if it came from the square. Simeon stands, unmoving, his feet now rooted to the pavement below him. He wants to move, but he can't. This place never hurt him before. Is that changing? Suddenly, Olga Dmitrievna shows up, grabbing his hand and pulling him toward the sound. Can she truly ever manage without us? At the square, he sees the damage. Dim traces of ash could be seen on the bronze statue of Genda. Someone tried to blow up Genda. He's still standing, but the blast drew a crowd. Who could have done this? Simeon notices Elisa and Olyana in the crowd, and he's not the only one. Olga Dmitrievna drags them to the front, where Divinchevskaya's soot-stained hands reveal the who, but not the why. This earns the rebel without a cause her second lecture of the day. A lecture that wouldn't have stopped unless something extraordinary happened, like when Electronic appears, with Shurek's boot held high above his head. When asked, he claims he found it in the forest, on the way to the old camp. This causes murmurs to spread across the gathering crowd of nameless pioneers. A crowd that parts like the Red Sea whenever Olga Dmitrievna even mentions going there. Would you, dear viewer, like to take any bets on who ends up going to the old camp that night? It's us. You know that already. As the only man here because Electronic is a weenie who ran off after he finished speaking, we're faced with taking one of the girls or going alone. I think it over. Not taking Oyana. Slavia's been our savior up to this point, but it's really down to Elisa or Lena. He makes a choice, but can't say it out loud. He can't believe he's even thinking it. There's no way she'll come. The leaders suggest waiting until morning. She's unsure but won't risk another disappearance. Yet, as Simeon walks back with her, something changes. He's set on the old camp. He needs to know what discoveries lie there waiting for him. After some convincing, Olga Dmitrievna lets him take a short walk. His ticket to the old camp. Night falls as Simeon takes the winding path. The moonlight plays tricks on his mind, all the while. Every tree branch looks like an arm reaching out. Every fallen log, another person trapped in this lush green prison. In a glade, surrounded by trees, a decaying house stands silent. The rusted merry-go-round in the garden suggests that this was once a kindergarten, or in other words, a daycare. Time's been cruel to this building. Like most things, paint peels off the walls like dried leaves from a lifeless tree. It may be true to say that Simeon himself is the only thing here that appears to be living. Moonlight cascades over the house, and for a moment, it seems to breathe. But it remains still, unmoving, breaking the illusion. He parts the tall grass at waist height and opens the door to thick darkness. It stares back at him, daring him to come in, a far cry from the warm camp. Gathering courage, he steps inside and flicks on his flashlight. Inside, the decrepit building looks like any normal kindergarten. There's rows of sleeping mats, sagging bookshelves stuffed with books. One book, in particular, catches Simeon's eye. It's a book he read in his childhood, one that fits this place's story perfectly. If this were a movie script, the writer deserves credit. Someone deserves to be paid for their attention to detail. Regardless of an insight into Simeon's life, Shurek isn't here. Then where is he? Simeon asks the ghost, the shadows along the wall. They don't respond, but something catches his eye. A small depression in the corner of the room. It's a trap door, and by the looks of it, it had been recently used. This is the worrying part. Shurek is missing, and all signs lead to him having used this trap door. But what is waiting for Simeon beyond the ladder and the concrete floor beneath it? Is it a basement? A shelter of some description? Answers? The true question may be, what was Shurek doing down there anyway? Simeon stands in front of the trap door, hesitating, every part of his body screaming for him to turn around. But he doesn't. If Shurek was down here, he has to be found. Even if that means going against the only person trying to stop him, himself. He descends the ladder. It creaks with each step he takes. Once his feet hit the concrete, he switches on his flashlight. With a low ceiling and iron-barred walls on either side, he's clearly inside an underground tunnel. With only one way to go, he trudges forward into the unknown, slowly moving deeper and deeper into the beckoning abyss. He soon finds a massive metal door. He pushes it open and steps inside. The door closes and seals behind him, far too heavy to open from the inside. He scans his surroundings. Is he in a bomb shelter? It's clean and tidy, as if it had never had a reason to be occupied in the first place. He whispers into the room. Shurek? No reply. He clearly isn't here. The only thing that remains unexplored was the door at the other end of the room. The handle doesn't work, but he finds a crowbar in a closet and pries the door off its hinges. Another corridor greets him. He walks carefully. Perhaps this is the only reason he doesn't fall into the pit. It looks like it was caused by a past explosion, deep enough to crawl into, but not so deep that he can't climb back out. He crawls inside to find an abandoned mine. The tunnel of the mine seems endless. His flashlight can't even pierce the darkness that lies ahead. He has to keep going though. He's come too far to stop looking now. He marks his spot at a crossroads, unsure of which way to go next. He first arrives at a large, decaying mining hall. A torn red neckerchief confirms Shurek's presence, but where? Then he comes across an old miner's camp. The old tools and minecarts leave no doubt on where he is, but give no answers to who he's looking for. After what seems like forever, Simeon finally finds himself standing in front of a wooden door. Inside, he steps into a boiler room, and there, sat in the corner, biting his thumb, is Shurek. Ah, don't come near me. Shurek, it's me, Simeon. I won't give up so easily. As if he didn't hear Simeon, he grabs a reinforced iron bar from behind his back in an attempt to defend himself. First you bring me here, then you take me through the mine, and now you're pretending to be Simeon. Had fear shattered his mind? He's wide-eyed, a vein bursting from his head, clutching the pipe until his knuckles whiten. Simeon, while nervous himself, does his best to calm him down. It really is him, and slowly, Shurek seems to come back down to earth. He explains that he had come here to find parts for the robot he's building. He had heard that there was a bomb shelter at the old camp that might be useful, but the voices, they led him astray. They told him to go left and right countless times. He lost track and hid in here where they couldn't find him. Shurek, there's no one there. I wasted quite a lot of time walking in the mine just like you, but I didn't hear any voices. Then you're with them. The now unhinged pioneer rushes at him, the pipe held high above his head. He swings it down and Simeon is just able to get away, though his flashlight isn't as lucky. Now they're both imperiled. If the pioneer wanted to remain here, then fine, but now he's doomed himself to the same fate. All hope seems lost until Shurek reveals that he knows where the exit is. When Simeon asks him how they'll ever get to it without being able to see, he gives a small, hysterical laugh and a piece of advice that feels painfully ironic. The two pioneers soon come out to a dim light, a ladder with a heavy grate covering their path back to the camp above. At his behest, Shurek obediently lifts him up. Simeon bangs against the metal grate until his fists bleed, but it soon gives way. He lifts it, and the familiar scene of the camp square greets them. It's strange to find comfort in a place that had once seemed so alien to him, yet here he is, breathing a sigh of relief. Shurek leaves him with an ominous warning before scurrying away. Almost unconscious, he stumbles inside of his home. There, Olga Dmitrievna is waiting, her arms crossed. Well, look who's here! The lecture begins, but Simeon clips its wings before it can get off the ground. He can't take this verbal assault without proper rest. Surprisingly, she allows it. He darts beneath the covers before she can change her mind. Simeon wakes up, gasping for air. A dream about hunkering down in a shelter, holding on to a girl as she sobbed. He has to shake it off, And it's good that he does, because a celebration is in order. Schwartzy has been found safely, and though he remembers nothing, he's back because of the heroics of one decent pioneer, Semyon. Olga Dmitrievna demands strawberries. Only the ripest ones from the nearby island will do. He hears footsteps, mid-shower, and dives into the bushes. Elisa and Olyana arrive, covered in red paint. Must have been another prank gone wrong. He trips, falls out of the bushes. Elisa catches him and assumes the worst. Great start to the day. He runs, barefoot across sharp stones and hard pavement. This only leaves his feet bleeding. He limps to the infirmary in an effort to prioritize his health. And I know what you're thinking, but Jouska, that means interacting with Viola. But she's rather tame today. She only drops one ... pioneer and sends him on his way. With his foot properly treated, he heads to the canteen. Slavia and Lena take a seat at his table, the latter telling him to enjoy his meal. Slavia asks if he has plans, and outside of searching for answers, which he calls a global goal, I call it a joke myself, he says no. She asks if he would like to come to the island with them to pick the strawberries, and just by taking a look at Slavia's face as she describes them, he can almost taste them himself. Within minutes, they're at the pier. As Slavia goes to retrieve the oars, Semyon takes the time to speak to Lena, who's been awfully quiet. Do you like strawberries? Well, not really, but they're tasty. I see. I don't see it, Semyon. What is she saying? It's two different responses in one sentence. Semyon begins to row toward an island known only as the closest one. His arms burn. Somewhere inside of him, he's still the 25-year-old man hunched over his computer while browsing anonymous forums. Slavia pays him no mind, but Lena, however, questions if it's tough to row alone. He bites his tongue. He couldn't let her help him. He continues rowing. Semyon breathes heavily as the boat stops. He lifts his head to find a basket being held out to him. He looks at his surroundings. Lonely waves bounce off the shore as if they were a ball stuck to the canvas of a held paddle. The small island would take little time to scour between the three of them, but there's one problem. There were only 2 baskets. Being left to choose who to go with, he picks Lena. Picking berries here, with the summer sun's rays piercing through the trees, is where Lena is at her happiest. Her enjoyment can be easily spotted on her face. They take a seat on a log, and before long, her head falls onto his shoulder. The voice of Slavia breaks the serene moment, and Lena awakens. She gives Semyon an empty look before a shade of pink sweeps across her cheeks, realizing she has fallen asleep on his shoulder. She stands before Slavia appears. They have more than enough strawberries to return back. The trip back is faster than the row there. Semyon collapses with no energy left after tying the boat back up. The girls chastise him for not letting them help. They leave him to take the strawberries to the leader. Semyon does, but she's not home. He falls asleep in the nearby lawn chair. He wakes up to Olga Dmitrievna shaking him. She compliments his harvest and he tells her that he couldn't have done it without the girls. It's an easy choice to make, because it was true. The leader asks if he knows what this is all for. She reveals it to be for a strawberry cake, made to celebrate the return of Schwartzy, all thanks to Semyon. Now, I know what's about to happen. Semyon is privy to it. And for those that are watching from home, you should already know what happens next. Yes, the hero is required to fetch ingredients for his own cake. The task is simple: to gather yeast, flour, and sugar, then give all the ingredients to the cook at the canteen. But it's not that straightforward. The 3 items are scattered across 3 different locations. Semyon asks what we're all thinking, but Olga Dmitrievna tells him that they're far too busy, and he's the only one in the camp that does nothing. So long story short, there's yeast in the infirmary, We go there. There's not. Just a nurse who gives him alcohol as a substitute. Doesn't seem responsible, but what do I know? He hides it under his shirt. When Slavia catches him and asks about it, he gives her a silly little giggle and says it's time to go. Little does he know, he just used their own tactics against them. He eventually hides the bottle under his bed. The library has flour. It does, the perfect amount. While he waits for Zahinia to retrieve it, Elisa comes in. She locks eyes with Simeon, her eyes flickering with hesitation. She's here to return a book, but clearly doesn't want him to know that, or worse, see what that book is. A choice is given, give in to his curiosity, or stand on guard. He decides to spare her and stand idle. She quickly leaves. Zahinia calls out to him to catch the flour bag. He thanks her and heads on his way. The clubhouse has sugar. It does, but the bag is too big. Simeon asks for help carrying it, but Electronic says they're busy with this thing. He looks to Shurek, but he looks away with guilt. If only he knew what we were doing for him. Simeon leaves, exerting himself with the bag of crystallized sugar. Suddenly, Lena appears in front of him, suggesting a handcart, an idea that somehow hasn't crossed Simeon's mind. Pleased with herself, she smiles, saying she'll be right back. What would he do without her? It's an idle thought, but one that shows that he's thinking of her. Seems she's been exuding confidence as of late as well. It's as if she discovered something and is doing whatever she can to make it materialize. She returns with the same smile she left with. The only thing that's new is the small handcart she now holds. Handing it to Simeon, he thanks her, and the old Lena returns, blushing while staring at the ground. As she walks off, he can't help but think that there's two people living inside of her at all times, and the self-assured side is only seen when she's with him. He takes the handcart back to the canteen. He's not sure how long baking a cake takes, but the cook's unpleasant look told him she would have to hurry. He closes his eyes as he sits on the canteen steps. He doesn't even notice someone calling for him until they touch his shoulder. Opening his eyes reveals Miku standing in front of him. She beams at him, greeting him with a kind hi. Though he fails to conceal his annoyance, she chatters about being early, blaming the clock for lying to her. Well, not lying to her, she simply misread it. However, she soon falls silent. Simeon curtly tells her that there is half an hour until dinner. She offers to sit with him, if he doesn't mind, but he does. It's a kind offer from a girl too pure for the world of Simeon. He ignores her, like he always does. He retreats to the square to be alone. Anger bubbles within Simeon. It seems he, and only he, is forced to carry out some ridiculous task handed down to him by the camp leader, each one dragging him into situations he wants no part of. He grits his teeth. He stopped caring about how or why he's here. This place has successfully sucked the life out of him. The dinner bell finally rings, and with that, his anger evaporates away. Approaching the canteen brings him face to face with Olga Dmitrievna. She thanks him, "Keep your thanks to feed your cat." Even when she says that's my boy after learning that he hasn't told a soul, it doesn't affect him. There are plenty of free seats inside the canteen, so he finds one by himself. Soon, Slavia and Lena come over to check on him, and the former drops a bombshell. The entire camp is going for a hike after the celebration. She asks if he's prepared. Simeon isn't. No one bothered to tell him. It feels like things in this world just happen. He's only left to the whims of fate. He buries his face deep into his hands. The voice of Olga Dmitrievna rings out from the other side of the canteen. "Guys, to celebrate the miraculous rescue of our comrade Shurek, we baked this cake for you all." No mention of his name. No mention of his efforts. As if that's how it ought to be. The backs of countless pioneers stare back at him. The girls move to get their share, and somehow That's enough to coax him into following. They smile as they do. Lena hardly ever smiles, but perhaps she's trying to lift his spirits. It doesn't help much. He takes a seat at the table, and just as the leader sets the cake down, Oyana rushes out from the crowd and lunges for the cake. She manages a few nibbles before being dragged away by the leader, kicking and screaming. Simeon stares blankly ahead as chaos unfolds around him. Elisa gazes at him, a knowing smile tugging at her lips. Lena looks at him through the corner of her eye, blushing as she picks a bit of cream off the cake and tastes it. Simeon wonders if all this would go away if he just closed his eyes. He does it. But the noise only grows sharper, more chaotic. Olga Dmitrievna grabs Oyana, sharply turning the small girl towards her. A lesson, the leader decides, is long overdue. She banishes Oyana from participating in tonight's hike. If Simeon had known that that was the extent of her punishment, he would have taken the initiative to be the one to smash the cake himself. The leader looks in his direction, gesturing for him to get ready. He tries to display his displeasure non-verbally, but it doesn't work. Authority doesn't care about subtle resistance. It never has. Walk and you shall reach. The sun is setting as the crowd of pioneers gather under Genda's watchful bronze eye. Every pioneer should go above and beyond to save a fallen comrade. That's the principle this hike is built on. The hike will end in a clearing several hundred feet away from where they stand now. It's announced that they will walk there in pairs. Simeon, not friendly enough to be anyone's first choice and too inactive to ask, finds himself alone, like me and you in middle school. Remember those times? The camp leader notices too, of course. She waves him over and pairs him with Zahenya. This decision fills Simeon with that special kind of despair. The loner's despair. Theatrical and petty, all at once. He heads over to the prickly librarian, announcing they've been paired together. She asks if he thinks that she actually might have a reason to be happy about that. Before he can guess what she means, she snaps, telling him it'd be better if he stops talking. With this, they begin the hike. He trails behind Zahenya. After catching on to the fact that they're going in circles, he realizes that this hike isn't about the destination, it's about the hiking itself. He tries to speak to her once more. He asks if she's just unsociable or if it's something about him. She tells him to cut out his stupidity. Simeon decides not to converse with her for the rest of the hike, however long that proves to be. At last, the leader shows mercy by ending this hike inside a large glade surrounded by tree trunks. There are the remains of a campfire in the middle. A fire is quickly started with old newspapers. All he wishes to do is move on to the next day. Yet, he's stuck here. He half-heartedly watches as Electronic and Shurek furiously try to prove something to Olga Dmitrievna. Looks like she's listening to appease them more than anything else. He shifts his disinterested gaze to the far corner of the clearing. There, he catches a glimpse of something far more interesting. Lena and Elisa were standing inches away from each other. He couldn't make out their voices, but their body language told the story. They were arguing. This is fitting for Elisa, sure, but it's out of character for Lena, of all people. Simeon's attention is captured, and a choice presents itself. He could either stay seated and forever hold his peace, or find out what these two were arguing about. It's an easy decision to make. Simeon gathers his wits. In all this forced splendor, the two of them are the only thing that stands out to him. As he approaches, their words become clear. No, you listen to me. Think whatever you want. I've said everything. There's nothing to think about. Everything is as clear as day. Don't try to wind me around your little finger like that. I know you far too well. Why, of course you know everything. Then why won't you tell him yourself? This catches his ear. Who is he? That's none of your business. The hot-headed pioneer turns away, just far enough to lock eyes with Simeon. Seconds later, Lena does the same. In an instant, her rage vanishes, replaced by her usual soft expression. That kind of control isn't in Elisa. You're eavesdropping? Simeon insists that he's just passing through. It doesn't help. She reminds Simeon and makes sure Lena hears all about his little escapade this morning. A complete accident, now twisted into a sick action laced with intent. Whether she said it to embarrass him or to spite Lena didn't matter. It got a reaction. Is it true? Their corner of the clearing grows silent. Simeon wants to say something to Lena, but the words fail to come out. Elisa speaks for him. You see, I told you. No. His chance to explain, gone. She turns and runs in the direction of camp. I didn't even know what you two were talking about. Why should I tell you? He grabs her by the wrist before she can walk away. If her silence means she's finished, his means it's just beginning. He's so tired of everything. And this girl never knows when to quit. Elisa flinches, her eyes narrow slightly. His hand slips down to hers. They stand this way, hand in hand, for what seems like minutes. He doesn't know what to do next. Then, it hits him. She needs to apologize. Elisa pushes back, but Simeon doesn't let it go. She's coming with him, whether she likes it or not. He releases Elisa's hand once they make it to the square. She reveals Lena goes to the island when she wants to be left alone. Maybe she knows her better than he thought. So they make their way to the pier, again. Amongst all the boats, only one was missing. A good sign. Everything about this night feels so routine. The crescent moon, the stars, and crickets do little to make him feel special. Simeon rose, squinting into the dark as he asks Elisa how she and Lena know each other. She hesitates. Then she says it. They grew up together. Questions like these come so easily, but the ones that make him fear for his life never do. He's a puppet, losing his thread. So what kind of camp is this? Where are we? Why am I here? Answer me! Hey, what's wrong with you? If you want me to apologize to Lena, I will. She looks terrified. Realizing how he must look, he mutters an apology as they reach the shore. Simeon reminds her of the plan. Apologize to Lena. Explain how everything that happened between the two of them this morning was nothing more than a misunderstanding. A complete accident. They find Lena's boat, tied to a snag on the far side. A clever idea for someone who didn't want to be seen. At the tree line, he moves to go in, but Elisa doesn't follow. She clutches his hand. Simeon, caught off guard, argues that it's just a small grove, nothing to be afraid of. He had just been here earlier. In the daylight, the island felt peaceful. Then he remembers. Sitting on the log, Lena's head on his shoulder. His mind swirls. They need to find her. There, sitting beside a tree, eyes red and watery, Elisa spots her. Why have you come here? And you? She trails off as she looks at Elisa. The latter lets go of Simeon's hand instantly and apologizes, but the damage was done. What a perfect apology. Not walking the walk, are you? How clever of you to insist that I'm doing a bad thing and then do that same thing yourself. You got it wrong. I get what I've seen. Lena's eyes flutter shut. She flashes a melancholy smile to Simeon. "Explain it to him," she says, turning to Elisa. "There's nothing to explain." "Well, maybe you will let me have a try then." "Whatever." Elisa turns away as Lena wipes her eyes and stands upright. Her voice beams with resolve as she reveals what started this mess. "Well then, Simeon, she blamed me for pursuing you." A silence sweeps over the triangle of pioneers. "It's not like that. That's not what I meant," Elisa says, needing someone to believe her. Lena's eyes begin to pool over. "Of course, you've always been like this. And you, what about you? You're trying to convince me that it's all wrong while you're holding his hand." Simeon begins to connect the dots. So, Lena likes him. And Elisa likes him too? So the triangle they're standing in isn't just that? Of course it isn't. Simeon feels the need to cut the cord while he still can. He stutters, but Elisa whips around to face him. Her anger found its way home. "This has nothing to do with you. Judging by this conversation, this has everything to do with me." "Yes, it does. Ask her what she thinks of you and why she told me not to go after you." "I'm telling you, once again, we've heard enough of your story already." With that, Lena bolts into the trees. Simeon wants to go after her, but what would he even say once he caught up? He remains nailed to the spot. Somehow, this shouldn't be a surprise. Lena and Elisa are just like him, human. He looks over to the hot-headed pioneer sitting across from him, her fire all burned out. Before he realizes it, he's already speaking. "Hey, I'm sorry it went that way. If only I hadn't heard your conversation. It's not your fault at all. It's just that you appeared in the right place at the right time, and we started a mechanism that stood still for a long time. I don't quite get it." "Of course you don't. And actually, you shouldn't right now. You'll get it later." "Damn it. Why does this always happen to me?" Murphy's Law. If something can go wrong, it will. In Simeon's case, it felt like if something bad could happen to anyone, it would happen to him. Even when he tries his best, it always finds him. Clearly, today, he hadn't tried hard enough. "It seems like you've got an aura of some sort. You do attract attention." "Trouble, mostly." "Who knows? Who knows?" She casts her gaze to the river. She comments on it being a wonderful night. It should be used as an opportunity to make the most admirable camp leader happy beyond relief when she finds out that her favorite pioneer is a nasty pervert who enjoys looking at naked girls. Pioneering just never ends, does it? She must have been joking, but her face said otherwise. Simeon uses every last ounce of strength to convince her not to. "So, you are actually going to visit Olga Dmitrievna now, are you?" "Why not?" She gives him her best roguish smile. She throws her arms up and storms to the camp, but slows up as Simeon gets closer. Is there anything he can do to stop her? She admits that there would be one thing. She wouldn't say a word if he stopped chasing Lena. Simeon's anger boils over. She's the reason they had to go to the island and do all of this in the first place. He isn't and was never chasing Lena. The moonlight captures Elisa's displeasure. "Like I don't see how you look at her. How do I look at her? Like that. Like what?" "You know." His eyes are still on her, searching and frustrated. But could they mean something else entirely to her? Her viewpoint seems twisted. Or was it he whose perspective is warped? She begins to break down, a sight that should feel otherworldly to him, but here it fails to register. Her face expresses absolute sorrow at the world. I'm just feeling hurt. What hurt you? It's always like that. She gets all the attention and always pushes me aside. This felt like something bigger than him. Perhaps he's just the new addition to a long line of issues, just like she alluded to. That's not true. You do draw attention, and people don't overlook you. I don't. She looks up at him in amazement and expectation. So, you really think I'm as good as her? Yes, I do. It wasn't sincere. If he didn't mean it, his reassurance was no different from the hole inside an old tree. Hollow. And if his heart is the hole, his body's the tree. Today has added figurative years onto his life. They stand still, unmoving. That is, until her usual demeanor returns, and she yells cheerfully, announcing it's time to go to sleep. Her "see you tomorrow" seems more like a promise than an afterthought. Once she disappears, Simeon sprints to his cabin. He slides into his bed, careful not to wake the camp leader, and his thoughts swirl with Elisa and Lena. All he could do was wonder what would happen next. Simeon stares at the ceiling. It's early enough that the camp leader is still asleep in her bed. He envies her as he gets to his feet and walks out the door. The paths of the camp are empty. It's as if the entire place is sleeping. Even a night owl like himself can find enjoyment in early mornings like these. It almost breathes new life into him. Almost. He quickly washes up and hums a tune as he walks through the square. There he spots Genda. He applauds himself for a corny joke. Is he finally relaxing? Has he become content with his place here? He walks through the forest and out to the pier, only to find he's not the only one who couldn't sleep. On the pier, with her feet dangling in the water, he finds Elisa. About yesterday. You get everything, right? What exactly? Oh, for God's sake. Alright, I did. He lied, but at least it's an answer that she seems more receptive to. She lets him know that they have plans tonight, all while looking him straight in the eye. She refuses to elaborate on what these plans are, but she does tell him not to do anything stupid, and he'll find out when the time comes. Can't think of many stupid things he could do. Maybe tell Lena to kiss him? She dashes away, a hand behind her head, smiling, ready to take the world by storm. Simeon then heads to the canteen. He wonders if today is the day he'll be the first one in line for breakfast. No one else is here, and it doesn't open for another hour. He sits on the steps of the canteen to watch the sun rise. For once, he's overwhelmed, but with tranquility. If he were anywhere else, he'd say he's happy. A voice takes him out of his thoughts. Looking up, he sees Lena, a smile hanging onto her face. He freezes. Somewhere, in the depths of his mind, he hears a very stupid voice say, "Kiss me, Lena." What could he say to her after last night, when he feels so guilty about everything? Simeon attempts to initiate a conversation about last night, but she stops him mid-sentence. It seems her newfound confidence is back and on full display. She didn't want to hear about last night. It isn't complicated. She and Elisa just have disputes sometimes. It's as simple as that. All he has to do is think about his actions and how they affect others from now on. He puts his head in his hands. Could you explain yourself any clearer? What for? A question, answered with a question. Look, if I don't know what I did wrong, I can't do better. I think you'll understand. Suddenly, the door flies open. It's none other than the Grand Leader herself. It doesn't feel like him and her are done talking, but in the presence of another, the meaning behind Lena's ambiguous comments will remain a mystery for now. They walk in together. The canteen soon becomes flooded with pioneers. Lena is surrounded, so he takes a seat alone in his new favorite spot, the far corner of the canteen, where he eats his chewy oatmeal. It is really chewy today. He hardly notices Oyana sitting at his table, who yells at his back as he leaves. The looming presence of Lena and the sharp inhale of Elisa hang over him, but he runs into neither as he approaches the leader's cabin. It feels as if someone would invite him on a journey today. Just feels like one of those days. When is it not? As he returns his bathing items and walks back outside, he runs into Slavia. Why? She needs his help, of course. Not her specifically, but the Cybernetics Club does. Electronic and Shurik. They ominously greet him as he enters. Shurik says that the nurse came by. The pioneer looks off into the distance without explaining any further. No, actually, the two of them have a package for him to deliver to the nurse. They hand it over and send him on his way. He begins walking toward the infirmary when he realizes something. They never said he couldn't open it. He soon slips into the forest and opens the package, all for it to be a bottle of vodka. Those two set him up. If someone caught him delivering a bottle of alcohol to the camp nurse, Simeon hesitates, before making the ill-informed decision to pocket the alcohol for himself. For those curious, he pours the vodka into an empty soda bottle and stale plant water into the vodka bottle. He takes the replacement to the infirmary and uses all his will to take his fist and knock on the door. Hello, pioneer. Simeon is so nervous that he starts spouting nonsense, but she gets the hint. She takes the package. Making sure to ask if he had opened it, she ushers him out with a farewell version of her usual greeting. Go, pioneer. Just like that, he's back at the square. Simeon takes a seat on the bench with no intentions of moving until the come and get it bell rings for lunch. He soon spots Lena approaching him from across the square. He prepares himself. She takes her place beside him and looks up at the sky. The shy girl he knew from day one was long gone, and in her place stood a confident, self-assured girl. It's like she did a complete 180 in personality. He couldn't forget their earlier conversation. She tells him to, but the more she avoids it, the more he wants answers. She ignores his inquiries and poses a question to him. So what do you think of Elisa? Simeon repeats the question back to her aloud. What did he think of Elisa? More importantly, why did it matter? He's so worried about yesterday but is failing to see what's right in front of him. Lena doesn't fail to see it either. There's a direct connection there. Lena laughs aloud. A painstakingly forced smile spreads across her face. Simeon thinks deeper. Sure, Elisa could be arrogant. Her behavior annoys him more than he cares to admit. But if anyone asked him if he has any negative thoughts about the ill-tempered, rebellious, bold, spiteful, prideful pioneer, he'd say no. You like Elisa, don't you, Simeon? Really? Did I say something wrong? No, not really. She laughs once more, her face twisting even further into that same smile. Her eyes shut tightly, as if she's scared to open them, afraid of what her pupils might show. Her words seem normal, but her expressions give everything away. She's wrapped around Simeon's finger, even if he fails to realize it. The lunch bell, better known as the come and get it bell, rings, and Lena dismisses herself rather quickly. Simeon eats lunch with Electronic and Shurik, who feel the need to reaffirm that he delivered the package without incident. Feeling a sudden wave of tiredness sweep over him, he leaves for the leader's cabin to take a nap. Sleep doesn't greet his closed eyes, and soon his thoughts return to Lena's question. What do you think of Elisa? Sure, One could draw thoughts from a lot of her actions. Bombing a monument of a party representative certainly doesn't help, and while that makes him feel a slight bit of amusement, still, he feels nothing. All he feels is indifference. Yet here he is, still thinking of her. Suddenly, a knock on the door. He opens his eyes and calls out, inviting them in. The door opens and Elisa shuffles in. She crosses her arms over her exposed stomach as she stands in front of him, lingering close to the door, as if she's unsure of what to do next. "I guess you were looking for the camp leader?" "No, I was looking for you. I want to make everything clear. Simeon's all for it. He might not have the answers of why he's here, but any answers of any kind would benefit him now." She slowly walks in and sits on the bed opposite of him. Elisa asks if he's spoken to Lena today. He says yes. She asks what it was about. He says nothing, really. She goes stiff. She doesn't believe him, but continues anyway. "You do understand. I'm always assumed to be guilty whenever anything happens." "Well, you always are guilty. Not the time, Simeon." "Maybe, but in this case, me and Lena, we're always like that. Even if she starts something, she's all innocent, and I take the blame." "So you're saying that Lena..." "Actually, I don't know what you're saying." "You never understand anything, do you? So explain. You do know Lena likes you?" She turns red the second it leaves her mouth. There it is. The bombshell. "No." "Well, now you do." "No, I do." "And she thinks I'm going to steal you away from her. She thinks that all the time, understand? Even though it's always the other way around. Everyone looks at her because she's such an angel, and nobody pays attention to me. To them, I'm just a shoulder to cry on." Her voice begins to break. Splotches of red streak across her face. This feels unreal. Like watching a TV show. He's powerless to change anything. But he should know better. He's the only one who can. Still, why did she care so much? Sure, Lena wasn't as quiet as she seemed. He had started to think that himself. He offers a shoulder to cry on. If I can do anything. But she offers an ultimatum. At this precise moment, Simeon realizes he can't treat this like an outsider anymore. Do you like Lena, or do you like me? Everything before now pointed to this question, but he's still not ready for it. He's the one that wants resolution. He's the one that's been asking for a solution. He's the one that wants them to all gather around the campfire and sing Kumbaya. He's been wishing to put an end to everything, and now he has the opportunity to. Yet, anything he says comes out with a clause, a but attached to it. But why but? Why? He can't just give a hasty reply, he needs time to think, and Elisa is patient enough to give him the space to. With a gentle reminder of the plans they have tonight, she shuts the door, leaving him be. The conversation with Elisa impacts him heavily. Things can't be the same now. Not after that. He longs to take the easy way out, to say no to both of them without consequence. He has to find a positive solution. The best choice seems simple. Lena. She's kind and caring, regardless of anything Elisa says, but something about Elisa herself draws him in. Is it the calmness that she expresses when she loses her self-control? Or is it the fact that she challenges him at any given notice? His loverboy thoughts evaporate into thin air as he opens his eyes to see Olga Dmitrievna looming over him, her fist on her hips, caught lounging around again. He's forced to go to the sports field, where Slavia is and has been awaiting him. Once he meets her there, she doesn't pull any punches. She wants to know if Simeon stole the infirmary key. He hasn't seen it, but he understands why she'd ask. He returns back to the leader's cabin. However, after another nap, one long enough to completely miss dinner, he can't step out of the house before Slavia corners him. The key is still missing. He hasn't seen it, Slavia. Why do you need to know anyway? Important medication is missing. Oh. Simeon's eyes flash. The nurse must have found out. He keeps his cool, but after Slavia leaves, he grabs the bottle and sprints into the forest at full speed. He has every intention of burying it. He searches for the perfect spot, somewhere no one would think to look, but he's taking too long. Soon, a familiar voice calls out to him. Reminding him of their agreement, Elisa has come to fetch him. It's time for their plans. He hesitates, but follows her, tucking the bottle into his waistband. As they walk to her cabin, he can't find the chance to ditch it. She stays far too close. And it isn't that much of a trip to make anyway, taking only a few minutes at best. With her cabin mate, Olyana, nowhere in sight, he wonders what exactly she has planned for tonight. She asks him what they should do, but reconsiders. She's the one that brought him here, so she'll decide. Elisa takes a moment before reaching under the bed to reveal a bottle of vodka. Now where did she get that from? He takes a closer look. This is the one that he gave to the nurse. The murkiness of its contents gives it away. Surprised, huh? Not for the reason you think. So, she gives him a teasing look. Wanna take a shot? He didn't know what to say. It's just rotten plant water. Don't tell me you don't drink. I don't know. No, I just... And that's all it takes. A soul, and the temptation of temporary relief to have him cave in. She pours the shots. Before he can object, she throws her head back and downs the rotten water. This causes Simeon to laugh uncontrollably. Even her frustrated outburst doesn't stop him. She's disappointed. All she wanted to do was relax, have a cultured time out. And these words are all it takes for Simeon to start laughing again. She lunges for him. Maybe she meant to hit him, kick him, or bite him. Maybe she's just trying to crush him with her authority. Either way, one thing leads to another, and the real bottle of vodka slips out of its place and ends up right in the hands of Elisa. You all know where this is going. For all the ladies present, and all the gentlemen as well, I introduce to you two average teenagers left alone with a bottle of vodka. What could go wrong? Has she always been so beautiful? Or was anyone beautiful when you were under the influence? He stares a hole through her as she unbuttons a few buttons on her shirt. She teases him, but invites him to keep looking since he's so interested. And what comes after, comes after. Yeah, that's right. A black screen. The aches, the pains, the sunlight splitting his skull in two, the night before had done a number on him. The pain evaporates as he looks beside him. Elisa's starting to stir. Whatever happened, happened. He tries to hug her, but she doesn't wrap her arms around him. She looks around frantically. It's 4 o'clock. They need to leave. Now. Today is the last day of the term. He shelves last night in his mind for the time being. It's not forgotten, but is it true? Does he have a chance to finally leave this place? What she says makes it possible, but he needs to know how. He slips into his clothes and urges her to do the same. She hesitates, but follows suit. He runs out the door, across the square, and barrels into the leader's cabin. No one's there. Where are all the pioneers going about their day? The rest of the camp is barren too. He places his face in his hands like a doomed man. This place shouldn't have the right to do this to him. Just as he's becoming comfortable here, it pulls the wool over his eyes and changes everything. And now, his one chance, his ticket to get out of this tomb, has disappeared. Where could everyone have gone? Well, to the district center, I guess. That's all it takes. The name of a location. It doesn't matter if he can't place it on a map, nor does it matter if he knows how long it'll take. He needs to get there. Now. Elisa doesn't oppose, and he leaves her to grab his things in haste, shouting for her to do the same. With nothing but his cell phone, having decided to leave his winter clothes behind, he returns to the square and waits. She finally shows up with a huge, overstuffed backpack. Safe to say they weren't on the same page. It's her right, of course, but she holds the bag out to him. Why so little? I brought all that I could fit, as if she's leaving a real summer camp. But why worry about your belongings? Didn't she care about getting out of here? Since the chivalrous duty of carrying it will be his, shouldn't he get to decide what stays and what goes? Maybe she'll allow that. Maybe not. And with that, they exit the gates of the pioneer camp and begin walking to an unseen location down a seemingly endless road. He's surprised by his own stamina. It's nearly an hour in and he hasn't needed to stop until now. He puts her things down and sinks to the roadside. Elisa can't hide her irritation. What are you doing? Do you want to carry it yourself? Of course not. In that case, I need to rest. Simeon realizes how quiet she's been up to this point. He can't help but ask aloud. Elisa looks off into the distance, her eyes tracing the road ahead. What is there to talk about? As if nothing happened between them. She's not like she used to be. Back then, she used to wear her emotions on her sleeve for all to see. Now, all she says is, people change. This strikes a nerve with Simeon. People change, huh? Acting like a different person isn't what he considers change. She's just speaking in hints now, deflecting any question he bothers to ask. Unable to give a direct answer because she's afraid of what might come after. As far as he's concerned, right now, she's no different than Lena. Elisa stops dead in her tracks, but doesn't bring herself to turn around. She speaks quietly, her tone laced with rage. Don't compare. Got it? Don't compare me with her. What? You blame me for everything, but what about yourself? You're constantly looking at her. Even now, you manage to see her in me. She turns to face him. Why did you come yesterday then? You could have gone to her. You did know. Did know what? That I was waiting for you. Admitting this out loud clearly costs her something. He hears her, but doesn't know what to do with her words. After all, did she not ask him to come to her yesterday? But as Elisa says herself, it isn't about that. And she's right. This entire conversation is about decision, commitment, and effort. Elisa wants initiative from Simeon. Something, anything, that confirms he chooses her. But Simeon, riddled with indecision, wavering commitment, and resignation to his surroundings, can't supply her with this. It's heartbreaking. Simeon has never tried to save what he cares about. Anything that requires any amount of effort is too much. And up to this point, he's been far more than content with letting these things go. He admits this himself when he says, instead of considering the long way to my goal, I immediately started to think about the results, enjoying an underachieved victory. He's had dreams about having a person that cares about him, someone to call his own. Now, he has someone that does, right in front of him, and yet, he feels nothing. The sun dips below the horizon. As they sit around a fire, ignited by an old magazine and matches from Elisa's bag, Simeon has a feeling that time is running out. He might not get this chance again, even if he doesn't know when he'll fall asleep and wake up back in his apartment, even if he doesn't know if any of this is based in reality. Why not live for today? He has the perfect opportunity to, starting with the girl beside him, saying a few words, even for Elisa's sake, would help. She deserves it. So what will happen when we reach the district center? Call our parents. What else? Then what? And then it's all over. She leans over, absently prodding the fire with the stick in her hand. Of course it'll catch when she pulls it out. Fire always does. But maybe, just maybe, it could spark something between them. Something he might finally feel. You'll have the chance to find Lena. As if I need Lena. Don't you? To be honest, Lena's the last person he's thinking about now. No. Then maybe it's me. He looks over at her, only to realize that she's been weeping recently. Her eyes were sunken in, red dots scattered underneath her eyes as if they were cracks, trying to conceal what lay beneath. Simeon can't explain why, but he feels the need to avoid the question. What about you? What do you think of me? I don't know. Maybe you can just say it straight out? Silence falls. It isn't an answer Simeon can give to her, at least not in this lifetime. He can try to explain his entire situation, but who in their right mind would believe him? Certainly not Elisa, and she doesn't. Without warning, a horn blares. A bus pulls up to rescue them, and as they board the bus, they both fall asleep. And the road swallows them whole. Simeon awakes, inside his apartment. He has no idea how long he's been asleep. How did he get back here in the first place? It doesn't matter now. He feels a twinge of disappointment. Why? Isn't this what he wanted? To come back? The truth is, life here could never match the one he lived inside Sovianok. It was a dream that most never get to live. But maybe, one day, he could again, even if it's in a different way. Time passes. His stay within the pioneer camp almost feels like something he read in a novel long ago. But if he were ever asked, he could recall every detail. A couple weeks after his return to normal life, he picks up the guitar. A guitar that was once held by Elisa is now in his hands. Her image is inseparable from it, and while he starts off playing poorly, effort doesn't feel like a burden anymore. The idea of practice makes perfect takes shape, and 6 months later, he starts seeing results, playing parts of his favorite songs smoothly. Satisfied, he takes the next step, posting an ad to form a band. It's not easy for him to do. How can he discuss what music he wants to make when he himself has no idea? But life turns out to be much kinder than expected. He meets like-minded people, starts writing, some of it decent, according to the people he shows it to. Before long, the band books their first show. Everything that could go wrong, did go wrong. Barely anyone showed up. The sound equipment kept malfunctioning, but Simeon didn't care because it was the first step to success. Next, he posts his music online. The reviews are less than glowing, but again, he doesn't mind. It's progress, another step. He spends every spare moment fine-tuning his craft in hopes that one day an opportunity will come, and that moment eventually does. Today is that day, his band's first headline performance. It also happens to be the anniversary, 1 year since his return from Sovianok. He wonders if Elisa would like his music. Probably not. She preferred Soviet rock classics, the music of her time. Still, it's a funny thought. Would any of this have been possible without his trip to the pioneer camp? Probably not. There's more than one way to change the mindset of stuck people. A psychological shot can serve just as well as grave danger. He takes the same route, Route 410, to the venue. But today is different. He has no desire to go back to that once endless summer. He might be anxious, nervous, or even terrified, but he's ready to do what he's avoided doing for so long. He's ready to live. The opening act reminds him of his band a year ago. They need work, but they could do it. He's living proof. He steps on the stage. The lights glare into his face. The audience murmurs just below him. He knows that it's time, and everything goes smoothly. Even the difficult solo at the end is played better than it ever sounded in rehearsals. The most surprising thing? Their performance leaves the attendees of the concert hall eager for more. They cheer, they applaud, they start to chant encore. Simeon would love to oblige, but that was their only song. Maybe next time. He packs up and leaves the concert hall in good spirits. Maybe one day, his music will be played on the radio. Maybe he'll perform it in arenas, places much bigger than tonight's venue. But regardless of the what-ifs, Simeon's certain of one thing. He has found something he's interested in, something he can dedicate his life to. And really, isn't that all we can ask for at the end of the day? Simeon's quote toward the end of the game really stuck with me. It's why I made this video, because it felt uncanny. It was like looking into a mirror. I'm like Simeon in more ways than I'm proud of. I've celebrated unachieved victories. I've run from giving full effort. I've been scared of commitment and the failure that comes with it. But that doesn't mean I want to give up. And somehow, as crazy as it sounds, seeing Simeon find purpose made me say, if he can do it, why can't I? I believe fiction is the axis the world spins on. Stories reflect us, even when we don't want to see it. I don't know if something like this will ever happen to me, but what I do know is this. Through 17,000 written words, hours of revision, editing, and recording, I finished something. No one can take that away from me. I'll never go to Soviet, but maybe this game and I met again at the right time. And it wasn't just the ending that stuck with me. As I wrote, more lines began to resonate with me, lines I didn't notice the first time around. I've always wanted to be somebody. At one time, it actually was a musician, but I gave up, not because I didn't want it, but because the finished product wasn't perfect. The fantasy of being successful was safer than the effort that actually comes with it. There's nothing wrong with thinking about the future, but if you only think about what comes next, you'll never take the step to find out what actually does. I tried other routes, both of Lena's, Elisa's good end, and yes, in another life you can walk away with the girl. You can meet Elisa in that same concert hall, or you can stay stuck in the past and build a new life there with Lena. You can even experience trauma if that's what you're after. Please, play this game however you wish to. But this ending, this imperfect, uncertain one, was the only one that touched me. Yes, this game calls it a bad ending, but it's the one that I needed. Because in a story about escapism, disassociation, stagnation, and nostalgia, Simeon lives. He steps forward, and that's enough. And now, like Simeon, at the gates at the beginning of this video, I find myself standing at one too. It's taken me a long time to say this, but today is the day. Whatever comes next will just be an extra reward. I look at the calendar, June 26. This summer really does feel everlasting. I've been Jouska, and thank you for letting me inside your head.